Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. You know what day it is? It is Darwin Award Day. It has been great. This spring has been such a good, mellow spring. I've gotten to record a lot more of these in a short period of time than I thought I would. And today is another fun day. I have Michael Stoffregen. Despite the fact that Facebook says it's Diana Stoffregen, he is the real brains behind Showstopper Sequences. And I am so glad to be talking with him today. Hello, Michael.
Good morning. How are you?
I am great. Morning. It is afternoon for me.
No, we had that time change. It's morning.
Oh, the time changed last night.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a rough night last night. My kid got sick in the middle of the night,
Uh,
and so that never made it fun. And then you lose the hour of sleep, and I'm like, oh, you couldn't have picked a worse day to do this. Anyway, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll get through this. And I mean, it might be good morning. But, this episode usually comes out at like 5 a.m. So somebody might be listening to it at morning, in which case, good morning. It could be good night. I don't know. I don't know when people are listening.
it's for everybody in Hawaii that's listening.
Yes. Hola.
It was real early there.
Oh. So, you know the rules. We've done this a little while. You know what's going on. Let's get right into this. You have got some stories, some Christmas stories prepared for me, buddy. Take it away. What do you got?
Oh man, if there was a mistake, I think we probably made it. Little background, we came from Lightorama. We had done Lightorama for about 10 years, and they had just come out with their software for pixels, and I was really wanting to kind of get into the pixels because they do cool things. I mean, you can do a lot more with them. And I was sitting there and I was looking at that, and I started looking for alternatives, and I ended up with X-Lights. I had looked at Light Show Pro, but it had already started to kind of die off a little bit. The forums weren't real active. There was not a whole lot going on with it. I had looked at that, then so I like I said, I ended up with X-Lights, and I started playing with it in January of 2016. Now, at the time, remember, we still had all our Lightorama. We had about 35, 40,000 LED and incandescent lights. We really weren't pixelated or at all at that point. So I started playing with X lights, and it was difficult. I got to tell you, there was a heck of a learning curve. I watched the videos. I did everything I could, but my first sequence literally took me 3 months. From the time that I started building models and coming up with what I wanted to do, and so about April, I want to say, I had my first sequence, and then from there it kind of snowballed. I started building some more, and then come August, I had about a dozen sequences done. And Diana and I, we sat down and we talked about it, and we decided, let's do it. So we decided to switch to pixels in August of that year. And so we had literally nothing done. So the first thing we did was we started selling all our Lightorama stuff. Say what you will about Lightorama, it does have a good resale value.
It really does. That is, you cannot deny that fact.
No. So we had 17 controllers that we sold. And so we got our controllers sold. We had some really good LEDs, red, green, and white. We put into super strings, had wrapped them together. And we sold those to some folks in Oklahoma. And so we put together our war chest is basically what we did. And at the same time, we decided, well, we're going to switch our house over to a Whoville house. It's something we've been playing with for a long time. All the models I did were a Whoville model. And so in August, I started building things. We started building props. And it was just amazing what we were doing. I know the neighbors hated us because literally we had the Whoville house up from September through January of that year. because I had it completely built.
Trust me, I don't know that that's the reason they hate you.
Well, it could be the traffic, that sort of thing. All right, one of the things I want to show you this. Now, this was taken in September of 2016. This little picture here. I'm going to share it with everybody. I don't know if you can see it.
Our YouTube viewers, you can see the picture. For the podcast listeners, you're definitely going to want to go check this one out on YouTube so you can see this picture. What he's showing here is basically the Coro that he has made to make his house turn into a Whoville house. And I can't describe it. You have to see it. It is amazing.
It's about 75% covered in Coro is kind of my estimate, my unprofessional estimate there of what we've got. But I'm going to zoom in for the people that are on and I want to show you this. Literally nothing has any holes in it.
So this is in September.
In
September. Have all the Coro up, but nothing has a hole in it. No, there's no holes for pixels.
Nothing. I had no pixels. All right. Here's why. Here's probably my biggest mess up. Okay. First off, you build all your props earlier in the year than what I did. We started in August and got them all built by September. But the biggest thing I will tell you about timing is respect the Chinese holiday. We ordered our pixels like I want to say it was middle of September as we ordered all our pixels, and we ordered 10,000 pixels. All right, and there's a Chinese holiday in there somewhere. I don't know exactly when it is, but it delays everything. And I if you're not familiar with what they do, and I certainly wasn't. I mean, there's a lot of things on the forums, but very few things about people saying, watch out for the Chinese holiday. That's my biggest mess up. Watch out for the Chinese holidays. Because when they come out of that holiday in the fall, they're in their busy season. And, a little guy like me ordering 10,000 pixels, that's nothing. I mean, in terms of pecking order, you're dropping down there pretty good. So anyway, we did not get our pixels until the middle of October. And we had 10,000 pixels to push. So what I would do is I would take a prop down, drill the holes, put the pixels back in it, and then put it up. Now remember, none of this stuff has ever been tested. I mean, I did do a burn-in on the pixels, but none of my props have been tested. I don't know if the models work, nothing. So I take down a prop, stick a pixel in it, pixelate it, put it back up, take it down, put it up. And it was probably, I want to say, getting about 4 or 5 days away from Thanksgiving, and we had just finally finished everything. Now, I had not done any wiring at all. I mean, none. And because of our budget, we didn't buy cords. I made cords. I'd never soldered before, so I had to teach myself to solder in addition to all this other stuff. So I started soldering data cords and power cords. I did a whole bunch of power injection. So I had to do a lot of different types of wiring. But here's one of the big things I learned on soldering. I watched videos, read the forums, that sort of stuff. But when you're soldering, this is very important. If you are using the waterproof heat shrink, right? And after you kind of braze it over with either a heat gun, or I was using a little butane torch to shrink it down. Don't touch it. That hot glue is like napalm when you get it on your fingers.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so it took me a little while to learn that, so I had some pretty good burns. There's still a few scars here on this hand, where I did it, but So I did learn eventually. Get you a pair of little flat pliers and just kind of squeeze it a little bit instead of using your fingers when you're trying to make sure that the glue, disperses well. But that was a big lesson right there, just on the soldering. Um, all right, so we did get everything done, and we don't usually start our show till December 1st, and so literally the day of, I was making cords until we got there, and we had it going. It was kind of a pretty decent show, the first one. I didn't have all the props ready to go, so I was adding, and I kept noticing there was this flickering, this weird little flickering on some of the props. And as I added more and more props to the show, kind of a rollout, the flickering got worse and worse and worse. Here's where I had messed up. Okay, because I was doing a lot of power injection, what I did was I was running data from the controller out to the first pixel. At the first pixel, I'd have a power supply unit, and I would inject there. I had run the power supply uh, uh, negative terminals, the ground. I'd run it back to the controller power supply unit. So I had grounded, set up the ground properly that way. But I did not run the ground from the controller to the first pixel. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you don't have to do that. Let me tell you, I did. What had happened was, as I started adding more and more on there, I got more and more leaks onto the data line. So I was getting power on my data line like crazy. I'm not kidding you. I was, I was running Oh Holy Night, but my mini trees were doing Wizards in Winter. It was just crazy. They were doing all sorts of stuff. So I got to reading. I asked some more questions, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, you got to run your ground from the controller out to the first pixel and run it through." So I had to redo every one of my data lines after the show started. Remember, I'm not a real good solderer already, so I had to go back in and cut the male and female off of both ends of that line and redo it. And I was literally redoing chords on Christmas Eve. And like at 4:45 p.m. with the show starting at 5:15, I think is when it was. 4:45, I was putting the last chords on the mega tree that had been redone. So you want to talk about lessons learned?
So
Oh
all
my
through
gosh.
December, you were basically building your show out.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of where I gave birth to that saying, light shows are a little bit like pizza. Even the bad ones are pretty good. I received 0 written complaints that year, although I probably deserved a whole bunch. So that was our first year building up to that point. I'd have to say, if I were to share, things that people should do. One, start 2 months earlier than you think you should.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out where the Chinese holidays are. Figure out where they are. Don't expect anything to happen over a Chinese holiday because there's nobody there. It literally, how it is in the United States. We have a holiday. Somebody brings in extra donuts. That's about it, and we work on through it. Not in China. They're shutting everything down, and that's it. All right, so my big things are, go early, find out where those holidays are, watch yourself where you're soldering, and learn how to ground things properly.
I'm notorious when I'm soldering, and I don't. To be honest, I don't do much of it anymore. Um, Between solder sleeves, Scotch locks, I just don't do a lot of soldering anymore. But I am notorious for doing the thing of, oh look, I soldered my wire together. Oh crap, forgot to put the heat shrink on. and then you heat it back up, pull it back apart, put your heat shrink on. Oh, I'm the worst at that. I'm
I
the
found out
worst.
something really interesting. Now, if you actually solder something and forget to put the cap on it, like if you got a, I use the Ray Wu ends. So if you forget to put the cap on the male and you've got it soldered, you can either redo the solder or heat gun the cap and then slide it back over. Daniel Zhang did a little video on
Mm.
that, and you can slide those back over and they work great. So if you ever forget to put the little hats on them, the little screw-on caps, you can heat gun those and slide them back over, and it'll work.
I guess I've never had that problem before.
Oh, well, trust me, I've made every mistake there is. Now, the only
Yeah,
thing I
so
really haven't.
that's a good realistic lesson learned of starting way too late in the year or making the decision to make the leap way too late in the year.
Oh, it was it. I'm glad we did it, but it was a rough year. And fortunately, at the time I was watching my dad at home. He stayed with us. My dad had dementia later in years, and I had a lot more time than probably the average person to recover, because at the time he didn't require a lot of care. He required more attention than care. I basically had to make sure he was fed, got his medicine, got dressed, had something to do. And later, as his dementia progressed, I became more of a caregiver. But that first year, I had a lot more time and could spend it, taking uh, doing what I needed to do to make things right. But anybody else, I would tell you, now you start building in February and go from there.
hmm I was
Now
on
I
a
order my pixels in April.
Yeah,
That's when I
I
usually.
ordered my pixels already.
Did you?
All the
Good.
ones I need for the year. I've been ordering all my controllers. I'm so glad I did because, I mean, shit, I'm already waiting weeks or a month before I get my second order of controllers. Um, I need that's the thing I need right now. It's controllers.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, everybody's waiting on boards. Everybody across the board because just so many things got shut down in China because of the flu there.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, that's gonna be crazy. I'm getting a little bit worried. My wife is freaking out that Transworld is going to be canceled because of this, and because they're canceling conferences. I actually had a friend that was in New York City. He flew there for a conference, work conference, and the day before the conference starts, he's already in New York City. They say that they're canceling the conference
Wow.
because of it. And I try to explain, no, this is their livelihood. Like this is what they do for a living. So if they shut it down, that's like saying, I'm not going to work this year.
That's true.
This is their business. So I'm like, they aren't shutting down if unless the government tells them they have to.
Well, we're in Missouri, and the first confirmed case was in St. Louis.
Oh. Um, yeah, we just had well, shit. This is us. We just had our first confirmed case, and I think it's still the only confirmed case in Nebraska. Was a lady that she was is she a teacher or she's a parent or something like that. But anyway, she was traveling around to these different schools, and she was at a school, um, and anyway, so they've come and they're backtracking everywhere she'd been, whatever. All the schools in this town have closed for 2 weeks, and they are in the middle of district wrestling tournament. And in the middle of the tournament, they all the word had come back that she was here at the school during her contagious period or whatever. They shut it down in the middle of the wrestling tournament and send everyone
Wow.
home and say get out.
Wow.
That's how, and all the schools in that town are shut down for 2 weeks. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is just nuts. I'm not concerned so much for myself or, I'm not in a high risk group. But I do worry about my mom. She's 90. She's going to be 91 this year, so I do worry about her. And Diana works in a hospital. And if there's going to be something, she's going to be exposed to it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she works for the Department of the Army, and so they have people from all over the world in and out there. So
Well, remember, I live out in the middle of the country, so if you guys need to do a little self quarantine, it's a great place to come do it. I got
so,
plus I got a whole flock of chickens that it's worst case scenario we just start grabbing one of them every day.
yeah, eat for a long
We
time.
got at least 30 days worth of food, and that's not counting the eggs. So yeah, we're and we got 2 goats. Worst case scenario, yeah, we just sorry.
I'm in.
Woo! Look at her. There she is.
I was like,
There
ooh,
she
a place to
is.
go.
There you go.
Hi,
See, I'm
Katie.
just saying, it's great. We got plus we got plenty of moonshine. It's yeah.
I'm
Ah,
in.
there you go.
We will be set. We're pretty comfortable here.
Good old Nebraska corn.
Yep.
Found
Oh
some.
yeah. Oh yeah. So, okay, I want to hear another story. Do you got another one?
Another story. Let me try to think of something. That first year was probably the worst one. Everything else has been, just little stupid mistakes. For example, I built uh, a 2x3 information sign, and I used a Beagle Bone Black and an octoscroller and a little power supply. This is the little portable one that I think Mark Valentine had kind of innovated, had created. And it basically, you don't have to have it hooked up to anything. It runs all by itself. You put whatever you're going to display on there. You just put those files and you let the Falcon Pi player play it for you. So it's not hooked to your system, but it's really good for a tune to sign or something that's not really synced with your display. So anyway, one of the things that I did that was a huge mistake was that on the Beagle Bone Black, I did not put on a real-time clock. All right, so doesn't sound like a major thing, but if you've got it set up to where it's supposed to start at a certain time every day, and it doesn't know what time it is. So, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I had to do was every day I'd have to go in and hook it up to my computer, and I'd set up little ports on the bottom of it, of the waterproof case. I'd set up some ports. So I'd have to go in and I would have to, just log on and start it up. And once I started it up, it was fine. It would run for however many hours I had indicated to run. I usually had to run for 6 hours because that would be longer than my show. And the battery, if the battery is fully charged, battery would run for like 14 hours. So it's pretty amazing little thing that's completely portable. But anyway, so one time I was out there and I noticed that it had died for whatever reason. So I took it, and you got to remember, this is my only tune-to sign. So I took it inside while the show was going on, and I hooked it up, and I kind of, and I switch over, and I'm fixing it and getting it going, and then my daughter calls me, and she said, one of my friends just called me. Your show just stopped in the middle of the sequence. What had happened was the the IP address of the tune-to sign was different than my show IP, and so when I went over and logged on to the Falcon Pi player on the Tune2 sign, it's cut off all communications to the show network completely. So now that was incredibly stupid. So the way you fix that is make sure that if you have a standalone sign or anything like that, make sure that it's on the same network as your show. Now I've got another computer. I've got a notebook computer that I can hook it up to if something like that happened. But all that could have been avoided if I'd have bought like a little $7 real-time clock and put it on the Beagle Bum.
Now, see, I have only had 1 year's experience with, any type of like Tune2 sign scroller thing. And I thought I was going to be smart and just tell it anytime it's powered on, it runs this sequence. It's not a time-based thing. And oh gosh, I had so many problems with that thing nonstop the whole year. So much so that I had my P10 or P5 panel Tune2 sign, and right next to it, I had a regular Tune2 sign that was just a sheet of metal with a frame, and it said it with vinyl letters. And so the two of them are right next to each other because I don't trust my P5 panel Tune2 sign to work. So I had the two signs right next to each other. And some people have told me it was because of the power cycle thing. Power and cycling it every day screwed it up. So it didn't like that. I don't know if that's the case or what the case is, because other people be like, no, it should have been fine. And I don't know. Now that
Spend the $7, get the real-time clock.
now that thing is sitting back here, and who knows, maybe someday I'll come up with something to do with it. But for now, it's holding the floor down.
Yeah. This year, last year I didn't even use it in 2019. I didn't even use it because I ran out of time. I was working on my roof. Literally, we didn't get our roof up and going till like December 7th. I hate getting on our roof because it's a 10-12 pitch. And so I always put that off till the very end. And like I told Diana, the reason why I put the roof up last is because if I fall off the roof and die, at least she'll have a show that year because everything else is going. She can get by without the roof.
Oh, I can hear her in the background. Oh, geez.
Yeah, so like I said, there's always new stuff and there's always new mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like that's the easiest way to learn is just jump in there and get going. There's always good information out there, but man, that first year when you're trying to figure out what things mean while you're doing it, when you're trying to learn the terminology and actually doing it at the same time, it's tough. That is a tough
And
go.
how many years ago was this?
That was 2016.
Okay. So there wasn't as much for resources and knowledge out there as there is now. There probably, there were some, but it wasn't like it was in the beginning days. But there's still just so many more resources now.
I agree. There's a lot more videos, a lot more, just great posts that people put up on all the forums. When they stumble across something and are doing something, there's always good information out there. But yeah, it cracks me up. I don't know if you've ever done this, but there's you can go in and on YouTube, there's still videos on how to waterproof your pixels by dipping them in clear plastic coat.
Huh.
Now you got to thin it a little bit, but yeah, there's videos out there on how to do that. And of course, when you're just starting out, not knowing that the pixels already come waterproof, you start sourcing clear plastic coat because you're thinking, I got to use this. And then, nah.
And now pixels have changed.
Yeah, they've changed a little bit since the hobby first got going.
Well, it's just seeing what has changed in this hobby in the last 5 years really makes me excited for what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that just means more mistakes
Hmm.
initially.
Yeah, my Darwin Awards, I don't see it ending anytime soon.
Oh no, no, no,
Every
no.
year we're going to have a whole new line of options and people to talk to and new mistakes and and talk about new mistakes with old people, and it'll be good. I'm excited. So awesome. Well, thank you very much, Michael. Anything else?
No, I think that covers it. I mean, those are my major screw ups.
I wish I had a good story to tell you that really jumped out to me that you could tease me for, but uh, you know, oh, well, you want to hear this? You
Sure.
could you could kind of tease me. I don't really know how it's my fault, but it's kind of my fault because stuff's still out. We had a fire
Oh wow.
earlier this week, a couple days ago. It started in the ditch in front of our house. Well, the wind was in the wrong direction, and so it's pushing the fire. Pretty substantial wind. I mean, we were in fire warnings because of wind. And luckily we were out there working, and yeah, that we found the fire moving very quickly toward
Wow.
us. So a big chunk of my front yard is burned. Anyway, this is why it's funny is I have props still out there. I still have Christmas
Oh
props
wow.
in the yard. So my football field, I think it survived pretty well fine. I mean, the grass fire, because my yard is mowed down real short, it just wasn't big or hot enough to really cause any damage. Except in one area, I did have some extension cords that are clearly roasted through.
Yeah, yeah.
They're done. I think everything else that really the fire touched, I don't think it was hot enough that it caused any problems to it. I think it's fine. But
Wow.
yeah, we had a fire this week burn some of our props.
That's scary, you know.
Yep. I
Uh,
was worried.
well, the fire killed all the weed seed, so get out there, get you some seed down. Uh, go with dwarf fescue. You won't have to mow it as much.
Is that what I need?
Dwarf fescue, yeah.
Dwarf
If
fescue.
you get the tall fescue, you got to mow it. But the dwarf fescue kind of bends over. It doesn't grow real high. So
Oh, nice.
that's
See?
what I do on my yard. Because I mean, if I go like 2 weeks without mowing in the peak season, most it is like 6 inches. It's not bad at all. So
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
I am a little bit excited for that area to look nice. But now I have to purposely burn the other half of my yard to make a match.
You really do, because it's going to be really rich and green this year if you get some seed down, because it's got all that carbon in there, nitrogen. It killed all the weed seeds. You're ready to go, man. There's a bright side to that.
Yep. Now I got to burn the other side. Make it
Yeah.
right. Make it even.
Make sure the wind's going away from the house. That's all I got to say.
Oh, it got so close to the house. And I was less worried about our house because uh it was on the right side of the driveway where the driveway would have stopped the fire. It wasn't big enough because our grass is mowed so short.
Right?
The fire just wasn't big enough or hot enough as it came through the yard. As it came through the ditch where the grass is taller, I mean it was big and hot, and everything, but through the yard it wasn't. However, I was worried. I have one neighbor that field, that yard, goes go all the way straight to his house, and it was getting really close by the time that we had it contained.
Wow.
I ended up having to call the fire department, get them out there.
What started it?
Don't know, something in the ditch.
Somebody drive by, flick a cigarette, maybe.
Yep, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, that's bad. That's not
No,
good. No es bueno.
no bueno. No.
No bueno.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. This has been fun, like always. Like always, always enjoy doing these episodes and enjoy talking to you. Uh, Very excited to see you coming up soon in Transworld.
Oh yeah, that'll be
That's gonna be
fun. That's gonna
fun.
be awesome.
Yep.
It really is.
What day are you guys coming in?
We're coming in Thursday night,
Okay.
and so we'll be there through Sunday.
Good.
Head out Sunday morning. We'll be staying at the Magnolia, eating cookies.
Yep. Good. Yeah, I saw you on the list. That
Yeah,
you were
all right.
on our room block. So
Yeah, excited about that.
awesome. It's gonna be fun. Well, we'll be
It
there
is.
Wednesday morning. So definitely hit us up when you guys get to town on Thursday. We'll do that. Nah, what is she doing here now? Gosh. Gosh. All right. Well, we'll sign off. Thank you
Thanks.
again
All right.
very much. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Have a good
All right.
day.
Bye.
Thanks,
Take care,
Vinny.
Vinny.